King Namor has struck a decisive victory against the surface world, and now everyone is reeling to react. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Invaders issue number 8 and find out for ourselves, shall we? Alrighty then, so as we join the comic, we can see that Namor's recent attack, turning a bunch of surface people into air breather, has hit the 24-hour news cycle. Why the talking heads on Totally Not CNN have also given these transformed humans their own cute name, the Sunken. The government has exactly no clue what to do in this situation and says they're waiting for the UN to finish their investigation. Until then, though, they're completely fine passing the buck to evil corporate entities like those at Roxxon, who, on top of cleaning up when it comes to corporate contracts, feeding and housing these new sunken folks, they're also making a mint putting these transformed people to work on their offshore drilling rigs. Turns out you can get a lot of resources from the planet when you have a workforce that doesn't need to breathe air, and you pay them in money that they can't use because they live underwater. My favorite part by far, though, is that when the president says, well, maybe we need to show military might against the Atlanteans, only to be talked down by the CEO of Roxxon being like, hey, you didn't clear that with us yet. You can't blow up Atlantis until we're done reaping it of everything it has to offer. Do you want us to pay for your next re-election campaign? Boy, they're really coming fast and furious with this social commentary, aren't they? Now from there we transition on over to Jim Hammond, who forcibly rebuilt himself with a bunch of Iron Man parts, turning him into the Iron Torch. Jim is super pissed at what Namor did to him and says that if Namor is willing to do this to one of his only friends, one of his old war buddies, there's no telling what Namor will do to his enemies. Why, in a nice bit of coming full circle, the Human Torch decides to go back to Coney Island, the place where he and Namor first met back in the 40s, and indeed this was the site of comic book's first big superhero crossover, the Submariner versus the Human Torch. Lucky for Jim, his old sidekick Toro is there and says that whatever's going on with the two, he's going to help them through it because, you know, that's what a sidekick does, kicks you in the side and helps you out. Now, where is public enemy number 1 Namor right now? Well, he's gone back to that bar from the flashback that we saw a few issues ago, and he's invited Bucky for a meeting. He says, unlike the others who are so clouded by idealism, Winter Soldier, though, Namor always respected. He knows what it's like to sacrifice, to get your hands dirty for the greater good. And admittedly, Bucky can relate a lot to Namor right now. The Winter Soldier knows what it's like to have your mind tampered with and do things you would never do. In fact, one of the best things about this issue is that we actually get to hear about what Xavier did to Namor's brain from his mouth himself. Namor says that after the fight with the mutant Genis, Xavier had gone into his brain and tried to create Makin as a kind of conscience, something that could give him therapy and help him through his outbursts of rage. The only problem is that seemingly Makin became self-aware, absorbing so much of Namor's own anger and hatred, he started planning on his own, completely separate from Namor himself. In fact, this whole master plan of transforming people on the surface seems to have been in the works for a very long time, since back when Namor owned Oracle Inc. In fact, in a bit of irony, it was actually the dead tissue left behind by Genis that had allowed Makin to transform Atlanteans into humans and vice versa. It was almost the perfect plan too, but as we discover from Black Panther and Shuri this issue, the whole Genis process is deeply flawed because the mutant responsible for the change is dead now. The transformation process is incomplete, and that means that if they don't find a way to turn everyone back, and soon they're all going to die. Understanding the risk and knowing that they need to bring Namor to justice now, even if he isn't in his right mind, and for a second there, Namor actually agrees and tries to fight against Makan in his own mind. The true surprising ace in the hole for the Invaders, though, turns out to be the late arrival of Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, a character who has had a long and storied history with Namor, a flirtatious one too. Sue hopes that she can get through to Namor, make him see sense, or at the very least use her amazing powers to capture him as to stop more bloodshed. Unfortunately for our heroes, Namor had a trump card up his sleeve, and that would be the Serpent Crown, once a powerful weapon used against Namor to make him lose his memory and become an amnesiac, now makes him stronger, faster, and able to influence other people's minds. Basically, Namor was tough to take down before, now he's close to frickin' unstoppable. And it's on that note there that the comic comes to a close, everybody, and so that was Invaders number 8, everyone, and I gotta say, this has to be one of the best, most slept-on series at Marvel right now. Zdarsky continues to paint such a woefully tragic tale of Namor, a character who might very well be his own worst enemy on top of being everyone else's worst enemy. But what really makes this issue feel special is just the scope of everything that's going on here. Yeah, yeah, the book is called Invaders, but this is really involving the whole Marvel universe right now. Zdarsky's also giving a real masterclass in how to utilize continuity to help further your story. We get the Oracle Ink stuff, we get Susan Storm showing up. We get the Serpent Crown, which, yeah, it looks silly, but it looked silly originally. That's the era in comics that it's coming from, and the fact that it's here and a major threat now, you know, just warms my geeky heart. Overall, I'd give this a 9 out of 10. This is great reading.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out some of this other comic content I have available for you. Then you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you're always up to speed on what I'm doing next. And hey, if you're in the market for some comic books for yourself, might I recommend buying your trades through my book depository link down in the description. Not only will you save a bundle by not having to pay anything for shipping or handling, but everything you buy via my link goes to support me and the channel. So you win, I win, everybody wins, right? And until next time, I will be back again with more comic content that smacks of greatness. Bye-bye, everybody.